History tells the story of the world and of our lives. Sometimes that history goes bump in the night. Broadcasting from the center of oddity and the supernatural in Central Florida, it's the History Goes Bump podcast.
Hello, you spooktacular people. Welcome to History Goes Bump Redux. I am your host, Diane.
And this is Kelly.
Kelly, on this episode, we're going back to a location we did in 2016, and that is the Pythian Castle.
Looking forward to it.
Are you ready to go back?
I'm ready. The Pythian Castle is a unique structure, and not one that visitors to Springfield, Missouri would expect to find. This building is called a castle because it resembles one. There have been many owners and uses for this building, and over 100 people have died on the property. That might be why there are claims of up to a dozen spirits here. Join us as we explore the history and hauntings of the Pythian Castle.
The Kickapoo, Delaware, and Osage were the first to live in the Springfield area. Homesteaders and prospectors came in the early 1800s. Two of these people were brothers, John and William Fulbright. They bought 160 acres in 1830, and William built the first cabin in what would become Springfield. Other pioneers were brothers John and Madison Campbell. John donated 50 acres of his land to build a town with a public square. The town of Springfield was incorporated in 1838, and I believe it was named for the fact that land that he had donated so that they could build the town square and such. It was land that he owned that had a spring on it, so I'm imagining he's thinking, I have a spring, and it's in a field. Springfield.
Power of deduction.
Either that or he knew The Simpsons. I'm not sure.
Oh, Lord.
A Civil War battle took place here near Wilson's Creek in 1861, and the first Union general to die in combat happened here. The Confederates won the battle, but the town would go back and forth between the Union and the Confederates, with the Union finally having control until the end of the war. The first recorded shootout would take place in the town square between Wild Bill Hickok and Davis Tutt. The two men met during a poker game, and Tutt claimed Hickok owed him money. He took Hickok's pocket watch as collateral, and he would parade all over town with that watch, letting everybody know, Wild Bill owes me some money. I got his watch. Shortly thereafter, Tutt fired a shot at Hickok from 75 yards away, and he missed. Don't miss if you're shooting at Wild Bill.
Definitely not.
Give you a little bit of advice there. This proved to be very bad because Hickok returned fire and hit Tutt in the heart, killing him. The shootout made national news.
The Pythian Castle sits in what is now considered the north end of town. It was built by the Knights of Pythias in 1913. The Knights of Pythias was a fraternal organization formed in Washington, D.C. in 1864. It was the first to be chartered by an act of Congress. The order was founded by Justice H. Rathbone and is dedicated to universal peace. There are more than 2,000 lodges in the world. The order is named for Pythias, one of the members of the Damon and Pythias story from Greece. These two men were real historical figures that were against the king of Syracuse because he had obtained the throne by fraud. Damon was condemned to death, and Pythias joined his friend out of loyalty and love. It is that spirit in which the order was founded.
The Civil War was raging when the order formed, and Abraham Lincoln wrote of it, "The purposes of your organization are most wonderful. If we could but bring its spirit to all our citizenry, what a wonderful thing it would be. It breathes the spirit of friendship, charity, and benevolence. It's one of the best agencies conceived for the upholding of government, honoring the flag, for the reuniting of our brethren of the North and of the South, for teaching the people to love one another, and portraying the sanctity of the home and loved ones. I would suggest that these great principles be perpetuated and that you go to the Congress of the United States and ask for a charter, and so organize on a great scale throughout this nation and disseminate this wonderful work that you have so nobly started. I will do all in my power to assist you in this application and with your work. Now, that all sounds great. It's an order of peace and all this other stuff. But at its heart, this is indeed a secret and ritualistic organization. And for some reason, Kelly, it seems like these orders, like the Freemasons, the Oddfellows, now we have the Pythians and such, always have haunted buildings. Why is that?
Perhaps what's going on within the walls.
Stop making oaths and having real skeletons hanging out in coffins and such.
Pythian Castle was originally built on 53, now down to 2.6, acres that were bought for $1 from the Chamber of Commerce that was desperate for the knights to choose Springfield for their lodge over several other cities in Missouri.
You can imagine these other cities in Missouri are going, okay, let's hope we get them. Yeah, this land's only $100. Oh, our land is only $50. And then they look over at Springfield and go, $1? Really? Really?
Talk about undercutting the competition. It would take the organization 20 more years to raise the $75,000 it would cost to build the building. Construction began in 1913, though it's unclear how long it took. The building is constructed of Carthage stone, a particularly hard type of limestone found in the Ozarks. The interior is made of steel framework with poured concrete floors and stairs. The walls consist of fireproof pyrobar blocks covered in steel mesh and several coatings of plaster. Pyrobar is a fire-resistant gypsum-based product that was used between 1903 and 1960 and makes wall building rapid. It is 2 stories with a full basement and comes to almost 40,000 square feet. When it was completed, it featured a grand foyer, meeting room, ballroom, dining hall, and sitting parlors. The second floor featured a theater with a working ticket booth, seats, upper projection, theater lighting, and dressing rooms in the back. This meant the theater was well suited for film and live plays. There was also an underground steam tunnel that connected the main building to the powerhouse in the back.
In that steam tunnel it had all these pipes down there that would run the steam through it to heat everything. So that's why they're called steam tunnels. It's not like it was just a tunnel that had all this steam going through it. Although
Mysterious.
That would give it a really creepy effect. The building was originally meant to be an orphanage and retirement home for children and widows of the knights. It was named the Pythian Home of Missouri. For nearly 30 years, it ran as such until it was commandeered by the U.S. military in 1942 to be used during World War II. POWs were held in the basement, and the rest of the property was used to entertain and rehabilitate injured U.S. troops from the adjacent O'Reilly General Hospital. It was renamed the Enlisted Men's Service Club during this time. It included a movie theater, bowling alley, arts and crafts area, pool hall, library, and ballroom. Many famous actors, actresses, musicians, and other performers of the day often graced the ballroom and stage to cheer up sick and injured soldiers. After World War II ended, the building was retained by the U.S. government as a reserve center until it was sold as surplus in 1993. It was added to the National Register of Historic Places in 2009 and was renamed Pythian Castle. The current owner is Tamara Finocchiaro. She told the website Ozarks First of buying the castle, "I do think that buildings sort of pick their owners." She said the real estate agent showing her the building didn't seem to think anyone would actually buy it. After 20 minutes, I said, "I'll take it." And he was like, "What?" Pythian Castle now offers day and night ghost tours, history tours, and event hosting. You can also rent it out for paranormal investigations.
Ooh.
For private, yeah. And now a little break for a word about one of our sponsors.
Tamara definitely thinks her building is haunted. She said, "We know we have little kids. We know we have some women. We know we have some military folk." The website Ozarks First wrote, her very first experience happened near the main entrance to the stairs. A woman's voice said hello to her even though she was completely alone in the building. She quickly tried to find the source of the voice, but couldn't find it. Amazingly, just a week or two before the writing of this story, which was from 2022, a guest experienced the exact same thing. Tamara also had a terrifying experience one night. She lives at the castle and was awakened by the sound of 2 gunshots. When she opened her eyes, she saw a man standing above her, wearing army fatigues, and he was staring at her. She was so tired, so she yelled, Oh no, not tonight. I'm too tired for this. You've got to just buzz off. And he left.
Well, we tell people you got to take control with spirits.
Exactly.
You tell them, this is my house, this is my domain, you can't touch me, leave me alone. And I could tell you, if something wakes me up in the middle of the night, I'm going to tell them to buzz off too. Stop staring at me and hit the road. It is interesting, though. I wonder where the gunshot sounds come from, because I didn't hear of anybody actually being executed here or that kind of thing. So why would there be gunshots?
Well, but if 100 people died on the property, there was probably something with a gun at some point.
I guess. I mean, they did have Italian and German POWs down in the cells that they have down in the basement. So I don't know. That was just weird. I was like, ooh, gunshots? And who knows? Maybe she thought they were gunshots, but it was just a loud. He was probably crouched over her head and then clapped his hands right next to her ears really loud. And she thought it was gunshots.
You should see the expression on Diane's face. She's super emphatic right now.
Yeah. And I'm creeping down like a ghost
She
would.
is.
He's like, I'm going to get her. Wake up. The location has been featured on several TV shows, including Ghost Lab, Haunted Collector, and Ghost Adventures. Ghost Adventures got a figure on the SLS camera, and it approached Billy after he hit his leg against something and cried out in pain. So it's almost like I was wondering if it was a nurse,
Could be.
they would have been taking care of the soldiers. If she's like, oh, did you hurt yourself? Let me help you out. Or maybe it was somebody who just wanted to tease them because, they sometimes act like dorks and come over and go, good. Or maybe it caused him to hit his leg and was like, haha, it was me. Later, a spirit stands next to Zach on the SLS camera. On the spirit box, they got several male voices, but were only able to make out, "We're coming." What does that mean? The group heard several loud bangs. They got 2 EVPs, one they couldn't understand, and another said, no. They also heard an audible female voice.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Oh no.
It was also featured in the book Haunted Route 66 and has even earned the title of Certified Haunted Castle.
Do they hand those out regularly?
I don't know.
And we don't have a lot of castles in America, so I don't know. Is that just an American thing or is that all over the world kind of thing?
No idea. We have some castles at the Disney parks.
It's so funny. I was reading people who were talking about this on Reddit, and there was this guy from Europe, and he kept commenting under everybody's thing, oh, you got to come over to Europe. Come see our castles. No, we have castles over here. Come to Europe for our castles. And I'm like, you do understand. We realize we don't have actual real castles here in America. Yes, we know you have all the cool castles over there. Shut up.
Somebody's sounding a little bitter. Encounters include disembodied voices, temperature changes, orbs, full and partial bodied apparitions, full and partial bodied apparitions, objects moving on their own, strong changes in emotion, unexplained scents, nose pictures, anyone?
Yes.
And physical encounters. There are tunnels, dungeons, and cells down in the basement.
Ooh, that sounds like so much fun.
Tunnels and dungeons and cells. Oh my.
And they decorate for Halloween.
Oh,
and so
fun.
they always have tons of Halloween type decorations and skeletons down there. They had some great pictures online.
Neat. Southwest Ghost Finders investigated, and a spirit set off a cat ball a couple of times when asked to do so. A REM pod went crazy down in the basement. They brought a stuffed dog and connected it to a proximity sensor, and it went off several times, leading the investigators to ask if the spirit was curious about the puppy they brought for them.
And this wasn't just a kid's stuffed kind of puppy. It actually looked kind of real.
Oh.
So I would have thought it was a real little puppy curled up in the bed.
Oh my.
So I think that was the effect they were going for. And it did indeed go off a couple of times. And the one time in the basement, it was even after one of the investigators said, hey, can you touch the puppy there in the bed, please? And it took a couple minutes, but all of a sudden it did go off. So
Very cool.
One story goes as far back as World War II. A young soldier was preparing to deploy and found himself on the second floor alone. He suddenly felt very uneasy and as if there were someone in the room with him, even though he was certain he was alone. He then heard a man and woman speaking in hushed tones. When asked what he did next, he said, I got the heck out of there. Another tale includes 2 young men riding mopeds around town late one night when they happened upon the castle. One of the men decided he wanted to show it to his friends, so they decided to walk up the front steps. As they approached the front door, they heard a loud banging overhead. It was after midnight with no cars in the lot, so they were understandably shaken up and left pretty quickly. How exactly did you think you were going to get in there? I hope they were just going to walk around the outside and look at it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Ghosts protecting their property.
I've heard crazier.
I mean, we've heard some crazy things.
Another story is that of a pair of sisters that were on a ghost tour. They were each in separate parts of the building when they had their experiences. The first was in the steam tunnel, and while recording, one sister got an EVP of a male voice saying, "Get out." But she didn't know until she arrived home later that evening. Around the same time, her sister was in a room on the second floor taking pictures when her ear was blown into. She quickly ran out of the room and exited the building in fright. The sisters also had issues with fully charged batteries draining quickly, only to find that the batteries were in fact fully charged when they arrived home. Could this male voice have been the ghost everyone calls Mr. Boots? He apparently likes to roam about in the tunnel.
Yeah, I watched lots of videos where people were calling to Mr. Boots, and I don't know exactly why. I didn't see any descriptions for him, so I'm assuming he must sound like he's walking around in boots.
Probably stomping around.
TripAdvisor is full of reviews with people detailing experiences of EMF spikes, orbs in pictures, disembodied voices, and even myths and apparitions. Have the lonely and sad souls of orphans and wounded servicemen decided to make Pythian Castle their eternal home? Is there some other reason for unexplained experiences in the castle? Is Pythian Castle haunted? That is for you to decide. Another great place to check out in Missouri if you're down near the Ozarks. I have a cousin who lives there. I don't know that we'll ever be in Springfield, but it is a very cool building if for nothing else to take pictures of.
Definitely.
They've done a great job in renovating it and upkeep. The inside of it just looks amazing as well. I want to thank you guys for joining us for this Redux. I've been your host, Diane.
And this has been Kelly.
You take care now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.